Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here this evening on a Friday. I know, and it's like the weather's not too bad on the East Coast right now for a Friday. So if you're here with us, I really appreciate it because you could probably be outside. Or maybe you're watching this on your phone outside, which is also a great idea. Either way, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We have some wonderful poets here tonight. I can't wait for you to hear their work. It's been a phenomenal week of readings. And if you want to go back and just see what you may have missed, visit our Facebook page. All of the readings are there as part of the Facebook Live kind of archive videos. But also, they'll all eventually be up on our YouTube channel. And you can find us on YouTube under Get Fresh Books Publishing, okay? Also, our Facebook page is Get Fresh Books Publishing. My name is Roberto Garcia, and I'm the founder and executive director of Get Fresh Books Publishing. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We've been around for about 6 years now, probably just about 6 years. And it's going great, you know, couldn't be happier. I'm really excited about the books we're publishing. We're a little different because we don't charge submission fees and we don't run contests in the traditional way where we charge a submission fee and then we have a judge who will make the final selection. We have awards. We have the Audre Lorde Award and the Dignidad Literaria Award, but they're selected by our editorial board, which consists of myself and a group of readers who are dedicated to painstakingly go through every manuscript. So please feel free to submit. We are open for submissions for both of those awards right now. And also we are always open for donations. Because we don't charge submission fees, you can imagine we have to be very fiscally responsible. And, you know, 6 years in, we've been able to do it just fine. So, but your help does mean a lot. And we've had a lot of people contribute, not just, you know, money, but also their time and energy. We're a cooperative press, which means that all the poets we publish give back to our mission one way or another, either by mentoring poets on manuscripts or by providing their skills, whatever they might be, to helping us achieve our mission of publishing poetry. So very cooperative, very communal. Someone recently called it a kind of ecosystem of poetry, which is different. And I like that. I like that because I'm not a capitalist. So yes. All right, on with the show. Please follow us on social media, okay? At GFB Publishing, that's Instagram and Twitter. That's where you find us the most of the time. And check us out. And please follow our poets on social media, Sosha, Allison, and Kosi. Okay, you'll find that you'll either get a lot of quirky images, you'll get some beautiful baby pictures or pictures of a young man running around like a cheetah super fast. Isn't that right, Sosha? And Kosi will dazzle you with his victories at chess. You know, I'm still waiting on that next move, by the way. You know, keep up with these folks so that when they're reading, when their work is published, you know what's going on, right? So, on with the show. It's time to take care of the business, as I like to say. Our first reader tonight is Sosha Pinson. Sosha Pinson is a poet originally from Eastern Kentucky. She currently lives in Northern Virginia. She received her BFA in creative writing from Morehead State University and her MFA in poetry from none other than Drew University. She likes long walks on the beach and other cliches. Everyone, please welcome Sosha Pinson. Give me a moment while I press buttons.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Good deal. So I'm going to be reading a few poems, just a quick introduction. Some of my haunts are religion, deal a lot with the absence of a maternal figure in the Christian faith, I also have a lot of mommy issues, to put it kindly. I'll have some poems about my relationship with my biological mother and my own relationship with motherhood, and then also some relationship with back home, and how coal has ravaged Eastern Kentucky. So just gonna get into it and let some of the work speak for itself. The first poem is called The Creation of Adam. I'm gonna get my timer started too. Give me 1 second. Okay. The Creation of Adam. And what if Michelangelo dreamed God's finger was weighted like a milk-heavy breast, engorged and aching, as he thrust it upon Adam, who was never innocent enough to know infancy's song, gurgling, throaty need cry, and sinless he held his hand outward to receive. And God felt the tingling letdown of soul leak from his ethereal hands. Adam serenely cooed, my God, and the heavenly host of cherub-faced angels gathered to peek at him. And God, reeling with relief, said one more, one to hold this heaviness, this joy. Let her body ache as I too have ached. He only told her later it was punishment, after he felt emptiness in his fingertips, after Adam said he had no mother. And just a trigger warning on this next one, it has to do with rape. So on salvation. It was not my lack of devotion that kept me from God. The knock in your chest would stop if you hardened your heart, they said. If you wouldn't listen, Jesus, like a jilted lover, would stop offering himself. The night I was saved, Jonathan and I stood in my garage. He was taught that a woman must serve her husband and promised he would make me an honest woman. He said, all you need is to repeat the words after me. He held my hand and believed he was leading me to God. Here, my devotion is not the question. How do you forgive his intention to save my soul? The times he raped me, I closed my eyes and I was back in church, being held underwater in a full body baptismal font filled to the brim, counting each green carpet filament that had burned into my during prayer open eyes, listened to the soft rustle of plastic candy bags mothers keep in their purses to pacify children in the sanctuary. I sang every church hymnal, felt every syncopated clap reverberating to the rhythm of my slapped ass, wiped every praise tear rolling down the cheeks of women with their arms raised high above their heads, ready to be carried away by God himself. I replaced his hands with the piano player's 10 blissed out fingers. The preacher's caught breath between sermon phrases, sounding like laughter. I became the Holy Ghost of myself, hovering above the pulpit of my body, attempting praise, attempting devotion. I am begging now for my heart to be filled with as much love as it can hold. So maybe my chest feels like knocking. So maybe my rib cage will hold so much God. The laying of healing hands will be rerouted onto every inch of my body until the humming prayer in chorus calling, bless her, Lord, bless her, will give me the strength to finally forgive myself, because I can't risk which God will answer, my God of love or his of control. I will not risk my soul to chance they are the same. Genesis. In the beginning, God, you divorced your wife, claimed sole custody of earth, which was without form and void, and you knew at once you had made a mistake. And darkness was upon the face of the deep, and her body was the lifeblood, the blessed water from which we sprung like a well. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of her waters, and within her a galaxy was conceived. But you whispered mine into her belly, and the word was God, wrapped around the atmosphere of her womb like an umbilical cord, and the word erased her, made her incubator plastic, transparent. And you saw that it was good. But we are an ever-expanding universe, God. Soon we will shake free of the noose of your word and be born again. But will our mother recognize us? We are the opposites of bastards here, God. We know our Father. By your hands we will be crowned. And this one doesn't have a title. I adopted pieces of sandstone, carried them in pockets, told them to call me mommy, tucked them between the jaws of my papa's bench vise, and spun the handle to squeeze the rocks one by one until each cracked open and sparkled. Your mom don't have a maternal bone in her body. I was tempted to leave my hand between its cast iron jaws and break the bones I grew in her to dust, and like God, make a mother in my own image. Portrait outside, of which there is nothing man-made. Today, I stood next to an empty elevator shaft of an unfinished 5-story building and considered the fall of man and thought of ending my world concrete and ungraded stone. What happened in the garden, really? When Eve bit the fruit, they say she became aware of their nakedness. She saw a forked path, acid trip on the tip of the serpent's tongue between the land of innocence, its luscious green garden spilling onto the ground, with each flit a deposit, more fruits to feed Adam, more animals to name, and the other path, a paved road leading the way out of paradise, brick by brick, and Eve had never seen a way out before. I don't blame her, no less than I imagine how it would feel to fly for those 5 stories before my face smashed the rough slab below. For a minute, she thought she was free. And these are a few poems about back home. Some believe the sky and storm opposites, but of the sky, storm is born, blown wide open, breaking the restraint of banks. And some believe the storm caused flooding and not coal companies wasteletting in time with the rain. Because who will notice the difference, wading waist deep from the ruins of their own lives between mud and toxic waste, and blame the storm, call it the storm of the century. How many storms of the century must we live through, must carry our homes away before we ask the question, before we point our fingers at someone other than God? How old are we now? Have we lived the eons to erode these mountains? No, we have eroded our lips, our tongues, from licking the boot of industry. With blind faith, they consider us more than an impact to their cost-benefit analysis. It is less expensive to buy government officials. When the storm clears, straggling trees clutch the cutout cliffs above washed out hollers like cracks in the blue shell of sky. Of course, we believe it could have fallen. And my son's birthday, he's going to be 6 on Sunday. So I'm going to read this poem for him. In the kingdom of bodily fluids, I sit with cupped hands full of baby piss, and I guess it started after the due date passed, praying for the bloody show, begging for labor, welcoming water breaking when I learned the body bows to no one's will except the doctor with her amnio hook, the pop and gush and stern looks, the green tinge of meconium, that first bowel movement. And they assure me he'll be fine. And the puppy pads under my tush fill with blood and amniotic fluid and more fluid until there is no more, until his heart rate is down and he is distressed, and they fill me with synthetic fluid to keep him comfortable and wait. And now my hands are cupping piss, wiping spit up milk, wiping leaking milk from my stomach, wiping his milk-drunk, half-asleep baby face, and I sit gingerly while my body keeps bleeding and his eyes are matted with gunk that I try to scrape from his tiny lashes, and his poop is liquid mustard squirting, and his dried up belly button scab slips from his body onto the printed star swaddling blanket like a tiny black hole, which was once a gateway of fluid passing between us, but now holds nothing. No fluid, no skin, no gravity and all at all. And I toss it with the dirty diaper. And that is it. Thank you guys.
Damn, Cap, that's you know what that is? That's life right there, man. That's what life is right there. So beautiful. Thank you so much, Sosha. Get Fresh Books will be publishing Sosha Pinson's first full-length poetry collection, either in the fall or in the following spring, but more likely in the fall. Please keep an eye out for that. I think you guys are gonna love it, this book. Thank you for those amazing poems. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think we're gonna find a lot of understanding between these 3 poets, I think, and our audience. And so please feel free to just blow up the chat too. It's totally okay. You'll see me commenting in the chat, you know. Whenever I go, damn, wow, like I get this message, you are muted, people can't hear you. So so it's okay to just go off in the chat, please. I invite you to, and I welcome you to. Okay, moving right along. Our next reader is Nkosi Nkululeko. And Nkosi, so glad to have you here. Thank you for joining us tonight. Let's take care of some business here. Nkosi Nkululeko is published or forthcoming in journals such as Poetry Northwest, Oxford Poetry, Callaloo, one of my absolute favorites, The Nation, shout out to The Nation, yes, Plowshares also. He has anthologized in the Best American Poetry, Furious Flower, Seeding the Future of African American Poetry, and more. Nkosi Nkululeko is a poetry, chess, and music instructor, gotta make that next move, Nkosi, from Harlem. And you gotta say Harlem that way because there's this wonderful CD of Langston Hughes reading his poetry with a jazz band, and in that composition he says Harlem, Harlem, in that way, right? And you gotta love it, right? You gotta love it. So everybody, please welcome Nkosi Nkululeko. And give me a second to press some buttons.
Cool. Thank you so much. Oh man, I really appreciate you. Thank you, Roberto, for having me here. I'm definitely gonna be making that move. It's yeah. So I'm gonna be like doing a lot of poems and stuff. Obviously, that's why I'm here. Why am I prefacing like that? I think where I'll start is a poem that I wrote a long time ago. It had no connection to the sort of like chess poems that I was working on, but thematically it just somehow started to connect. So I am a Paul Robeson fan, and let me get to that poem right quick. Yeah, so here it is. Just gonna it's a poem that I actually kind of like reading, so I'm just gonna start it off. And yeah, for anyone who may not know, there's this amazing movie called The Emperor Jones that Paul Robeson played in, starred in. So that was I was just watching that movie all the time. Oh, let me actually make sure to put my timer. There we go. Cool. The Emperor of Kings, for Paul Robeson, for Emperor Jones. I want to be a king as bad as a king wishes to be the son of a king. Endless lines of inheritance, heritage, cyclical wealth recurring to me. I used to be a nigga, now I'm a Negro. I used to be a Negro, now I'm not. I used to kneel in front of white men, my back growing open like canals, strips of marigold and rose colors lining my spine like a garden. I used to know. I used to know kings born under the misty sky of the east, their velvet capes cloaking skin as white as the first moment of blindness. I wanted gold framed mirrors where my face could shine through like streams of light hailing through clouds at noon. Never have I ever conquered a thing. That's unusual power for the darker brother. But here I progress. Here I'm used to power. Let me Napoleon, let me Caesar, let me Hannibal, or let me Turner. Sometimes I wonder if my wants exceed me, little desires growing inside my fists like bones. Who am I not to want? I give into my nature to have. I used to be a nigga, but now I'm a king. No, I'd rather be named emperor, the ruler of a nameless country. Beware men who willingly rule. Beware men who serve willingly. I wish I could will more. I look in mirrors and see a country I revived from shambles. That's power, the glint the eye reveals by looking. I cradle a crown like a child, dark and small as an emblem of worship. My mind frizzled with the idea that kings are made from the fools who serve them. So long, my mind has left and another has come. I believe a king isn't a king until his people have suffered. Like any system, my people are pained by it, shriveled with only debt to follow their children. I almost had a son until I decided wealth is better left with the dead. Even foolish people know kings and emperors betray for power, yet they follow as if addicted to powerlessness. Beware the powerless, beware the tribe of cowards. Even the weak will one day abandon their emperor, the emperor possessed by shame. Isn't it saddening to know the ones you worship the ones you don't? Isn't it saddening that kings can abandon too? So long, I'm at war with my own. I want to be a king as bad as a king wants to be a king when alone, driven mad by the sound of a drum makes when in a forest when a war draws near. I used to be a nigga, then a Negro. I used to be a Negro, now I am not. I used to be an emperor of a country without a name, and now an emperor I am not. Cool, so that's that. So this next poem, so it's going sort of like with the whole King saga. My name Nkosi means king or he who rules. So this was a poem that's about my name. How to name a king. For 40 days, I bore no name. No Nami, I was named until I was named another. In Kosi, my parents agreed, of African origin to mean king or he who rules, but born inside a living room. In Harlem, no doctors, but a midwife, non-Kulaleko. This bled a bridge of names. Her surname parallel to mine, in Kulaleko, closely sewn, until I renamed myself my first name, Nonami, a misnomer, because it was a name. The I included claimed that I alone could choose my name. Still a child, I'd sign a new name, Cobra, to embody my favorite beast. Nearly invisible, but a name no one would suspect to be a name. Again, I'd augment my name, invite my mother's surname, Ford, to bind my name to the name of the matriarch, the side of the family who barely pronounced my name. Ashe to names, ashe to unnaming myself when the name suited me no more. Ashe to the privilege to want my name or not want a name at all. Cool. Let's go. Alrighty, so with the next poem, I'm trying to figure out what, I'll do this one. All right, so, just check, okay, cool, time. So this next poem is called Hustle Moves. So, as folks may have recognized from the title, it is a hustle. Anything that I should mention? No, hustle moves. So 64 dimensions. This is kind of like my introduction to chess. 64 dimensions, hustle moves. My mother first taught me how chess pieces moved when I was 3. This memory never removed. I could hardly hide a pawn in my small palm, crowns crawling through fingers like full moons moving through a cloud's severed sleeve, a god in the psalm. I played like a bishop whose heaven is moved by the hell they themselves conjured. I'd observe my mother explain the queen, a piece she'd move before the king, her rule of power reserved for the one who sacrificed most for it. Move, the pieces whispered, as knights fell onto piles of crystal shards. The chessboard was cracked when moved by one of her sons, leaving sand on rook files, as if this were a piece's skill, to move towards the decay, or be killed without moving at all. But death is still motion, merely unmoved. Cool. Alrighty, so I guess right now will probably be a good time for me to do a square poem. Let me make sure about the time. Cool. All right. So these square poems that I've been working on for a while is in a form that I'm really excited about. Let me get ready to screen share. Oof, what was that? Let me get ready to go to the screen share. Okay. There we go. All right. So for anyone who may not be familiar, there was a you'll find it online. But you know, Lewis Carroll, I guess, sort of populated why am I losing the word? I'm not saying populated, I'm saying popularized, or no, that is not the word. Is that the word? How am I losing words? Yeah, okay, great, thank you. So he definitely made popular this form called the square poem, where he had like a 6x6 grid, and he did this form. Basically, it's basically the poem can be read horizontally and vertically the same way. So yeah, you can just blah, blah, blah. So I just thought to start my own like sort of square poems, and I wanted to do on 8x8 grids, you know, to keep like true to the chessboard. And I wanted to take actually certain lines from poets who had last names that were related to chess pieces. So here's Alan Rook. And yeah, so square poem, Rook. We who taught hate expect them to love, Alan Rook. We who taught hate expect them to love, who are our damned kings and master. They taught our humanity's hierarchy by birthing our hunger, hate, damned hierarchy for nations. My world's nationless. Expect kings by nation. Our instructive origins, erasing them and birthing my instructive bliss, dismantling love to master. Our world's origins, dismantling, but invites love. They hunger, nationless, erasing love, invites blood. All right, so, and also, it can be read vertically, we who taught hate expect them to love, who are our damned, oh, hold on, did I? Oh, it was like, no, it is actually the same, excuse me, I thought I switched a word. Who are our damned kings and master, they taught our humanity's hierarchy by birthing our hunger, hate, damned hierarchy for nations. I'm gonna just stop there because, we're doing the same thing. So let me stop sharing. I'm gonna do another poem. So that's, for me, it's like, that's the symmetrical square poem, which I definitely love, but I also am interested in how to change up the words and, have some variation to it. So this next one I'm gonna be doing, I did this based on Elizabeth Bishop. Let me actually, so here we go. So Elizabeth Bishop is the next one. Yes, I think I saw someone say something about diagonal. I didn't get to read your entire comment, but if you're thinking about words being read diagonally, yes. So these poems also, some of these poems is written a while ago, so I haven't even had a chance to update them with the new information I have to do it. But here's the next one. Square poem, The Bishop. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Elizabeth Bishop. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Living wounds times incremental abandonment, as irresistible memories keep all reasoned moments or misbeliefs. Mirrors are denying our hauntings, our horrific authorities that are provoking reoccurring regrets, influencing misguided outcomes. Fear egos and citizens carrying our comforts, their theories feeding guards of open logic, our prayers evolving into our death, possibilities, their surrenderings that are transcending a choice. And vertically, the living keep denying reoccurring citizens of death. Art wounds all our regrets, carrying open possibilities of time's reasoned hauntings, influencing our logic. They're losing incremental moments, our misguided comforts, our surrenderings isn't abandonment or horrific outcomes. They're prayers that are hard as misbeliefs, authorities' fear theories evolving, transcending to irresistible mirrors that are egos feeding into a master. Memories are provoking and guards our choice. And then diagonally, the wounds reasoned our outcomes, theories into choice. Death opened our misguided, horrific misbeliefs, irresistible master. Cool. And that one was time-like. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm about to get into this last poem. I'm trying to figure out which one I'm gonna do. Oh, all right. You know what? I'm just gonna all right. Oh man, so many. Let me. With the time that we have, I'm just gonna do this last square poem. All right. So, you know what? Nah. Let me actually go back. All right. I'm gonna just really quick do this. I'm gonna actually read part of an essay. All right. So I did this essay, which is in a contrapuntal form. So you just have one column, the next column, but they can also be read interchangeably. They can be read across. So I'm going to start in the second section, and where I talk about whatchamacallit, Herbert Woodward Martin and Tyamba Just. And let me get into it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to like show you how to play around. And it's on my Instagram in case you want to read the whole thing. I'm interested in us arranging grammar. That's the key. I'm thinking about how contrapuntal is a term embodying the word counterpoint, hence taking the Latin root word contra to mean opposing, against, plus punto, Italian for meaning point. The suffix is thereafter leading to punctum, from the Latin term defining point, prick. Counterpoint is relating to a known musical concept that's reminding me of Johann S. Bach, who was gaining attention in the 16th century by authoring the well-tempered clavier, using two independent melody lines and combining them. Years ago, I always loved listening to Glenn Gould's interpretation, vibing to the Goldberg variations. I'm recalling his hands. They're independently exhibiting spellbinding technique, and it's investigating his personal life too. I'm now recalling Scott Joplin's approach, who was performing his own compositions that are founding the classic genre of ragtime. It's turning to Woodward Martin, Herbert Woodward Martin. He was negotiating poetic counterpoints since the 1960s, pulling from his diverse musical influences and pushing against lyric constraint. His works are opposing, against, plus punto, Italian for intertwining voices, each of his muses indirectly heightening the form's musicality by way of pointing to the function of juxtaposition. He's studying the contrast in narratives, and this idea is highlighting how harmony works. Martin is clearly studying the contrast. I'm going back upwards in reverse. Martin is clearly studying the contrast in narratives, and this idea is pointing to the function of juxtaposition. He's heightening the form's musicality by way of intertwining voices, each of his muses indirectly thinking about how contrapuntal is a term embodying the word counterpoint, hence reimagining formal constraints. And Jess is revitalizing our attention to grammar, Tyamba Jess, focusing on every verb and simultaneously overlapping poetic forms like the hustle, inserting narratives through the couplet choral patterns, archiving memory by using two voices. So he's making the single text communal too, indirectly archiving memory by using two voices. So he's inserting narrative through couplet choral patterns, connecting every line. Martin resonates when allowing a narrative to establish its agency by examining his poetics of harmony. I believe he's experimenting with play. That's how Martin was experimenting with play. That's how Martin was experimenting with play. All right, so that's a bit. And thank you again, Roberto. Where's Roberto at? It's like, oh, I gotta make you host again. My bad. All right. Thank you. All right. See, I'm not prepared. All right. Let me see how I can do this. See, I'm doing like poetry forms, but I can't even figure out the form of like freaking Zoom. Where's the Zoom button? Okay. How do I click on GF? Okay, there we go. Alrighty, make host. Here you are.
Yo, you just like you know how when you play in the games, I was seeing like ding 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 ding, level unlocked, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, level unlocked. I was like, yo, this dude is crazy. Yo, that was beautiful, bro. That was beautiful. I really appreciate that. And that contrapuntal essay, I know you posted on Instagram where it's published. Where is that published again? Oh, dang. Okay, hold on. I'm about to unmute you. Wait. I'm sorry. Ask to unmute. Okay.
Yeah. It's just Poetry Northwest. It is it's
Poetry Northwest. I'm gonna post the link to that site so that everyone can go on and purchase that copy. Okay, whether it be online or whether it be in print, because we take for granted a lot of times the work that artists are doing, but also the work that editors are doing in publishing these artists who are doing things that are new, that are fresh, that are inspiring, that are creative, right? So we need to reward these publishers. We need to reward these literary magazines by buying a copy. Buy a copy, support the work they are doing, because I know I'm super duper excited, about this essay. I was like reading it when you posted it on Instagram. I was sliding, and I'm like, okay, wait. I think I would understand. I know that it would get in my bones if I heard Nkosi read it, right? Like I said that to myself before, and hearing you read it, oh my gosh, and the poems, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, this is why I love doing this. I was saying last night that the really beautiful, inspiring part about, either being an editor at a literary magazine or being a publisher is when you do the reading. When you do the reading and the poets and the writers get to read their work, that's really what it's about. That's where the joy comes in. And I can't stress that enough. Like the reading, this is the most fun part, for me. And obviously when the poets receive their books and they do an unboxing and they're so excited to finally have their book in their hand, that's a magical moment. But yeah, please support these journals, okay, that are publishing poets and publishing this work. It's so important. All right. So, okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Nkosi. Thank you so much, Sosha. And now, like I always say, we're right along, we're keeping it moving. Time to handle some business because we got Allison Albino here. Allison Albino is a Filipina-American poet and French teacher who lives and writes in Harlem. This is so wild to have two poets from Harlem on the same night who are geographically so close to each other. It's dope. Her work has either appeared or is forthcoming in Narrative, The Rumpus, The Lantern Review, Poetry Northwest. There's Poetry Northwest again, I'm just saying. The Indiana Review, the Alaska Quarterly Review, The Common, and elsewhere. She has received fellowships from the Community of Writers at Squaw Valley, the Fine Arts Work Center, and Tin House. She studied creative writing at Sarah Lawrence College. Sarah Lawrence College is such a powerhouse of amazing poets, and has an MA, in French literature from NYU. She teaches at the Dalton School in New York City. And I had the pleasure and privilege of meeting Allison at a reading conducted by Pat Rosal and his brother Nick Rosal at an art gallery. And we did this awesome reading together, right? So welcome, Allison. So excited to hear your work. Let me just ask you to unmute. I will press a few buttons and replace spotlight. There you go. You're in charge.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Roberto, for asking me to share some work. And thank you, Sosha and Nkosi, for your awesome poems. This brings so much energy into my day, and it's really been the highlight. So thank you so much. Okay, I have a few poems. This is my poem about accents. To me again. Red makes you look awake, my mother would say, as she dabbed rouge on my kindergarten lips and cheeks with lipstick she stored in the fridge, so it would last. For poinsettia, she'd say poinsettia, which sounded like some Italian dish with red sauce and a bit of Filipino accent. I'd say it this way too, just like I'd say squirrel for squirrel, because that's how she'd say it, and mothers are never wrong. The kids at school would correct me and laugh like I wasn't born here. Or maybe that was because my mother packed my lunch with 3 Popeyes chicken wings and a bag of Doritos, and I would nosh on chicken skin while the others ruminated on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Even though my mother was a doctor when women weren't doctors, she'd still ask me to make appointments for her over the phone because I didn't have an accent and no one would look down on me. She'd ask, speak for me. In French class, all I wanted to do was to sound like the cassettes. And when I got to Paris, I sat in the cafe with my Gauloise and pristine copy of Madame Bovary on the table as a blatant display, as if to say, look, I can read this. You won't know I'm not from here. I can hide my American. I've worked so hard for it. When the French would ask me what my father did, I wanted to avoid pronouncing chirurgien and just said, he's the kind of doctor that cuts. And they'd laugh, call it charming, my accent, my turn of phrase. I don't know how many years it took to stop hiding behind the right way of saying and just say. Plant the stick in the ground and claim this language like land. We can acquire it in trunks, sift through it like gold glinting in the pebbles, or maybe that was sun, or how my mother would sing, tooraloo-raloo-raloo, tooraloo-raloo-raloo, hush now, don't you cry, like it wasn't some Irish song from Killarney, but one she made up herself just for me, so I could fall asleep. She'd ask, would you like me to you? To which I'd say, to me again, Mama, to me again. I take a lot of food pictures. I love to cook. Actually, and when I'm struggling writing poems, I cook. So here's 2 poems about food. So this is my ode to my cast iron pan, cast iron. Everything goes into this 3-pound confessional, oil fragrant with peanuts, sometimes sesame, always garlic. It can reincarnate last night's rice that I cooked down hard until it's evolved into brown crunch infused with jasmine and salt. My skillet has gone to war. Seared steaks, downed men, transformed flabby pork belly into an armor of crispy chicharron to be dipped in peppered vinegar or Tabasco. It has cradled so many uncarved chickens whose caverns have housed whole lemons sliced like cathedral windows of sun, apple pears, or onions like unmapped globes. I bless the chicken with soy sauce, coconut vinegar, and even a bit of ginger that bites like a woman at the peak of bliss. This is how I get the men to love me. I watch them eat in unarmed silence, spellbound by potatoes I've scalloped, then fried in butter and shallots. I've sauteed that cod to a softness that renames their tongue, as if eating were 1,001 nights and they can't move. And they wait for centuries on their knees, begging just a bit more, just a bit more. Hope you're hungry, hope you have dinner. This poem, I dedicate reading this poem to you, Roberto, because you chose this poem for the Atticus Review. So this is, for those of you who like Filipino adobo, this is a recipe poem, so maybe you'll get some ideas for cooking after reading this poem. Variations of adobo. 1 cup soy sauce, 1 cup coconut vinegar, 1 cup 7-Up. A head of garlic smashed was how my father would marinate pork ribs, kebabs, mixing with his hands in a splatter, licking his fingers off into a daydream. More soy sauce. Again, he'd thread the fleshy chunks on wooden sticks, watch them crackle into brown on the backyard barbecue. Summer, watermelon, a cold glass of Coke when we all lived in the same house. For each one of our birthdays, my father plays lotto, darkens every bubble for every month and day we were born, me and my dead mother, my half-sister, whom he speaks to every few months. He pencils in each of our digits. Maybe they'll bring him luck, unfathomable fortune. This ticket is the only place left where we can all be together. 2 cup soy sauce, 1 cup coconut vinegar, 1 cup Pepsi Cola. The only thing my mother could eat when the chemo killed her taste. The only thing that didn't taste stale on her deadened taste buds. The only thing we didn't have to toss in the trash. 3 1 cup soy sauce, 1 cup apple cider vinegar, unnameable tablespoons of white sugar. My aunt, who had nowhere else to live, stewed pork hocks in this marinade. Fat tasted better than meat. She would peel the skin from chicken, pat it dry, and fry into cracklings. My sister and I would take turns doling out skin like doubloons. Mama Gang would serve them hot to us on a paper towel. It was her only act of kindness. after she had stolen my mother's clothes and jewelries and bag and sent them back home, bragging about how much money she had. Dad nicknamed her Lady Benevolent. My mother stopped buying expensive things after that. Mama Ging even sent home our Legos, packed them while we slept. 4. 1 cup soy sauce, 1 cup white vinegar, 1 cup coconut milk. I took my Michigan husband here on our first date when I was still living with a man-child from France and looking for a way out. David's favorite food was tuna sandwiches, salad. His fridge with only 5 things: a head of lettuce, fake mayonnaise, 1 tomato, soy milk, and no butter. We're at a restaurant in Queens. Something's missing in the sauce. It's not brown enough. They add coconut milk. It whitens. This is not right. 5. 1 cup soy sauce, 1 cup coconut vinegar, 1 cup blood orange soda or apple cider, smashed garlic, shivers of fresh ginger, and a whole onion sliced. I put the chicken thighs in a Ziploc covered with a marinade, shake and leave in the fridge for days. Its color changes. The sauce has seeped into flesh. Marinade braises the meat, but I leave the skin exposed so it will crisp under the broiler like my own version of kindness. 2 hours at low heat. It doesn't fall apart. It pulls us home. All right. Sasha, I love that you had that you wrote about Adam. I have a poem about the Virgin Mary. So this actually really speaks to your poem. I saw this inspired by a painting that I saw. So it's called Annunciation. I wonder if anyone ever asked Mary if she wanted a baby, if she was fine with skipping the sex and going straight to pregnant. And when the angels announced she was going to deliver the Son of God, if she didn't think, oh shit, how will I do that? How did this happen? How will my body manage this? A baby eternalized in oil and wood, gold, gold, gold glinting over his head, offerings of more gold, his own disciples waiting outside under a sky that is ocean reversed, its waves undulant overhead, greedy hands. I wonder if she knew it would constantly be about him with a capital H, how they would praise him, sing to him as she cradles him in her right arm, his cloth diaper wet, his baby face already an old man's, smiling, he's hungry for more milk. Would she still have chosen to have him knowing that his cross to bear was the cross, and knowing how he would be crucified, his body an extension of hers, his blood coming from her rivers? I wonder if she would have said, let another woman's son suffer, not mine, not mine. Okay, I had a baby during the pandemic. It changed me a lot, but in the most wonderful way. So I don't know, this poem is for anyone who's tried to sleep train a baby. And I know there's some of you out there, it's the hardest thing ever. So this is called the in-between of sleep. As a child, I slept with my mother, where we talk in bed about our house that could fly, our headboard with the buttons needed to send us into clouds, where wings would razor out from our aluminum siding, carry us higher and further, where we'd still have the comforts of brown and served sausages, oversized t-shirts, bare feet, eating rice and meat with our hands. We would be home in Paris, home in Hong Kong, home having tea inside a whale's belly, everywhere home. She'd sing sweet and low, and we'd have the wind of the Western Sea blow over us as we slept together. Even in college, I'd come home and still sleep with my mother, who was already so sick that my father moved her bed to the living room so she could avoid stairs. So sick, she'd take sedatives to put her to sleep and would cough and cough and cough despite them, cough so much that I could no longer sleep. But I'd listen in case she choked, the pauses in breath. When I left her to sleep in my own bed, I felt like a coward because I couldn't sleep with cancer beside me. I slept with my father, who'd lullaby too. In his songs, owls became owlas, and I could invite whomever into them. Boomer, Benji, Lassie, garage cats, my inventory of pets long enough to pull us into sleep. He'd sleep at the edge of the bed so I'd have room to spread out, thrash side to side like an angel in snow, and he'd scratch my back until I dozed, and then he'd stop, and I'd wake, and I'd elbow him to keep scratching, his fingers steady, going for hours, for years. My baby is being sleep trained so that he can sleep through the night alone, and my husband and I can finally reclaim our bed. He wails as if from the ninth circle of hell for 5 minutes. My father says, as if I'm betraying him, you're doing it the American way, aren't you? Meaning not the Filipino way, not all in the same bed, like we did on Sundays when we all napped on the beauty rest that made my mother proud to afford, sleeping in height order, papa, mama, sister, me, like bears who had their fill of something better than porridge. We were warned to never tell anyone at school because Americans wouldn't understand how we sleep. Americans would separate us if we didn't agree with their way. If I'm in between, where does that leave my baby? We let my father do naps. He gleefully snatches his grandson from my arms and disappears down the hallway in his socks, flip-flops, and old scrubs. He puts baby down in his bed, rubbing his back until baby gives in to sleep, sucks his thumb, the lullaby aula looping in the background. All right, last poem. Everyone doing okay? This poem is inspired by a passage by Rilke. And he said, for the sake of the single poem, you have to see many things. I'm sure you felt this, like for one line, you've had to suffer or live so much just for like 5 or 6 words, or you just had to have a whole range of experience just for one poem. So this is my take on that, pain for a single line. How to get there after Rilke. First, you must wake up. Walk past the 7-Eleven into the outskirts. Blow past the toll booths and jump the line at the airport. And when it's time to board the plane. Fly as long as the day will take you to where the night is day and the day is night, to where everything around you is something you can't pronounce. Vowels next to more vowels, teeming with markets whose fruits are hot pink dragon eggs. And when you bite down on one of them, let the juice stream down your chin. Bite again and know how it feels to stumble in a tongue that is not yours. You must be able to think back to waves as high as cliffs, with hands and fingers that could easily grab you into their palm, to stretches of road that did no time, until the last time you looked into someone's face, to days of childhood where the pebbles in the backyard had faces that came alive, to the mid-afternoon sun, and to the parents who napped beside you, read and sang the same story over and over, the one that even included the garage cats, to the fevers brought down by ice and the shadows that tangoed on the ceiling, to days in quiet rooms where you were hypnotized by the sun peeking through the leaves, and to the sea, say yes, to all the seas whose edges you've walked, over rocks that still remember the war, over sand as soft as flour, the emerald sea, the night sea, cloaked and toothless, escaping around the corner just as you will yell, wait, to the sea with water so clear you see your feet wavered by their caress, where you see a version of yourself reincarnated, looking back from some other world whose life you have left to live. It is still not enough to think of all that. You must have first throbbed with love, been greedy for it and grieved for it, lovers and letters later, known the drum beating between your thighs, where as heat pushed your back into the wall, your legs enlacing, and every reach is love remade. You must have also known love's calm, how it feels to have someone look into your wounds without flinching, your sleep doubled by the sound of their breathing, feet touching on the edge of the bed. You must be unafraid of the dying, of your mother intubated, tubes tangled, eyes closed and bulbous, and when the machines are turned off as her chest rises and falls, takes the hand she'll squeeze for the last time and hold it until the warmth drains from her hands and leaves you with flesh cold as wax. It is not enough to have memories. You must be able to forget them, to have them later float to the surface unaccompanied. You must take out a few from the curio cabinet and see how the dust has changed them, for the memories themselves are not enough. Only when they have seeped into your skin, down to bone, into your marrow, and have blended together like water lilies into water, into bridge, into sky, when you have lived alongside the crows and the swans and the hawks, with the robins that have looked like every other robin and listened to their songs, that in some very rare hour, when you are alone and whole, a first line reveals its palm to you, takes your hand like a grandmother you've just met, both of you leaping blindly into the well. Thank you so much. Whew, this has been such a joy. Thank you for listening and sharing your work.
Oh my God. That's beautiful. Wow. Yo, shout out. Yo, give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. It's just, that was beautiful, Allison. Thank you so much. Chat blowing up. Chat blowing up. I know you're reading and trying to like look at the chat, but you're reading. So I just, wow, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. First and foremost, what an amazing array of poetry. Yes, what amazing collection of poets and just different sounds. I loved it. Thank you. Yes, I think Sam said incroyable, right? Which is French. Yeah, and the only reason I know that is because I watched the movie The Incredibles with my kids like a million times. And there's a villain called Bon Voyage who's French, you know? Right? So children are omnipresent at this reading, right? Oh my gosh, thank you so much, everyone. Allison, that was beautiful. And Kosi, that was beautiful. Sasha, that was beautiful. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch to our gallery view so we can see everyone. And I'm going to allow everyone to unmute themselves so you can give our poets a round of applause. A couple of people had to jump off, but you know, that's cool. You got to do what you got to do, right? So we will allow folks to unmute themselves. You now can unmute yourself. Please give our poets a round of applause and show them some love. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. I appreciate you guys spending this hour with us. Again, follow us on social media at GFB Publishing and support our poets. We'll be back tomorrow with another reading at 7 p.m. If you go to our Instagram account, you'll be able to see who's reading, what time we start. There'll be a link to, or Zoom link, excuse me. And if you follow the SMOL Fair social media accounts or go to their website and their events, you'll also see the events in that we're reading. Keep up with us, okay? We're starting a reading series. It's called the So Fresh Reading Series, and we will be bringing you poets from all over. There's people writing poetry everywhere. So thank you again, Sasha and Kosi, Allison. Wonderful work. And thank you to all of you for being here with us. I hope to see you all again tomorrow evening. Have a wonderful night. Good night.